Hey everybody, it's your pal Liz. I have a very special and very sweet guest for you today. I'm going to see if she has joined me and then I can get her to be here with us. Let's see if she's here. Julia, if you're here, send me a request. Thank you, cute hair. Hi, Mrs. O. Da, da, da. Oh, there's Emily. Hi, Emily. We're about to talk to your mom. To your daughter. Let's see. I don't see Julia's name coming up on people that I can invite in. Please hold, everyone. Let's see. Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. Aha, I see the request. Here it is. View. Going in. Here it is. Okay. Hi, Mesa. Okay, I have a treat for you guys today. You're going to meet a very lovely and very special young woman. Hi, there she is. Everybody, this is Julia Gennari. Hi, sweetheart. It's so nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
And thank you very much for sending me a request because I was having trouble getting you. Okay, we're here and now I'm going to turn off the comments so that we can focus on each other completely. Turn off commenting. Okay, my dear, I'm going to give a little introduction of you and then you can give a little bit of an introduction of you just to put you in context so that everybody can know who you're talking to. This is Julia Gennari. She is 14 years old. She lives in Vermont. She is the daughter of our lovely friend, Emily Bernard, who all of you met yesterday when we did the live talk with Emily about her book, Black is the Body. And Julia, I wanted to bring you on separately from your mom. I'm sure you'd love more than anything to be introduced and defined by your mom. I would actually like it if you could just begin by introducing yourself, how you would like to be known, and then I've got some questions for you.
Well, you said the basics, my name, my age. A fun fact, I've been playing the violin for 6 years.
Oh, there you go. There's a fun fact. I wanted to talk to you today. I think you know, and your mom probably told you, and you and I have talked about how I'm bringing as many Black female voices as I can onto my Instagram account. And I wanted to bring you on very specifically to tell a story about your experience and your particular experience in terms of race and in terms of gender, about growing up in the community that you come from in Vermont and what that has been like for you. And you still are growing up in a very white community in Vermont, which is where, as your mom always says, dark skin stands out. And that's been something that you've been facing and dealing with your entire life and learning from. And so I was wondering if you would be kind enough to share with us what that experience has been like for you.
Of course. I've been here my whole life, so I have a lot of friends here that support me and support what's going on in the world, like Black Lives Matter, which is nice, but it's just being in middle school and, all that. There's going to be some ignorance in almost everything you do because it's just mostly the boys at my school. I just like to say that they're not on my level when it comes to these things. And I try to understand where they're coming from because most of them are white, so they have white parents. And my mom's Black, so she obviously has a first-hand experience with almost everything I've gone through, just different situations, different time period and stuff. It's just, it's kind of fun to grow up here in a predominantly white state because you never know what's gonna happen, and it's just like it's a little game. Is someone gonna say something stupid today? Are they gonna ask to touch my hair today? Is someone just gonna touch my hair today? But one thing I don't like is you have to live your life around white people. Like
Right.
if whenever I have a recital for violin, my mom has to schedule her day around that so she can make it if I wanted to come. That's what I do every single day. And if I don't, I'll just be put into some type of stereotype.
Hmm.
And it's so exhausting because I've had multiple people, multiple white boys, call me aggressive because they were either making fun of someone else, trying to get on my nerves, or just being like really annoying or disrespectful. And every time I'm like, this isn't aggressive. It was never aggressive. You're honestly, it's not even about race anymore. It's also misogyny. Like, you don't like seeing me being able to speak up and tell you that you're being a complete, well, ass to someone.
Let's talk about that word aggressive, because it's something that Black women have had to face for a very long time. Whenever a Black woman speaks up in defense of herself or in opposition to injustice, that's a word that seems to be singled out, very particularly. So I'm both distressed to hear that you've already had that word thrown at you, and then there's also a part of me that isn't really very surprised by it. Do you feel like you're particularly targeted as being aggressive, because of misogyny and also because of racism?
Yeah, it's, well, obviously, because when a black person speaks up or a black woman is loud or tries to get your attention, it's aggressive. But when a white male does it, it's assertive.
Hmm.
And um, it doesn't. And none of those like comments hurt me. Like, it's a waste of their time to even try and get on my nerves. Because like, why are you taking the time out of your day to do that? But I will always talk back to them. And I've said, like, this isn't me being aggressive. I can show you aggressive. That's me throwing you out of the classroom. And yeah, one time I was sitting in math class and this one kid wouldn't stop talking. And I'm not good at math. I tried really hard, but it's not my favorite subject. So I was
I
just like,
just want to interrupt for 1 second, not to cut you off. I just want to say game, recognize game. I am also not very good at math, and it seems to have not stopped me from doing well in the world. So anyway, attend to your studies, but it's not important. Okay, go ahead.
but I was going to fail math class. So I was trying to at least
Yes.
get like, at least one problem done. And he wouldn't stop talking. And he said, and we got in this whole argument, and he said, and I called him a baby. And he said, you're being so aggressive, you're being mean. I'm like, no, you just can't handle criticism. Or, and I said something else, and then my teacher, who was also a white male, said, Julia, that wasn't nice. You could have said that in a better way. And I was like, oh, really? Would you please give me the example of a better way to say it? And he was silent. And I'm like, it was clearly, he was like attacking me for being aggressive and wanting to get my work done. So no, there is no better way to say it than like, if I'm going to talk back to you and you're going to get upset about it, that's your own problem, not mine. You already put me in this little situation where I have to defend myself. It's like they want, it's like a little pattern. First they annoy you, put you in the position to be defensive and want, and then they call you aggressive. So like they absolutely know what they're doing, and they never just say it outright. They put you in that situation where you look like the bad guy,
Right.
which I despise. And I'm just like, really? That's like, we're both 14. You could have just stopped talking. It's not that hard. You didn't need to put me in this position to be scolded by a teacher who I already don't like because I've already had horrible encounters with. And I'm not going to sit here and let you do that to me. And it's so, and I feel bad for anyone who's had to go through that because it's like, it's exhausting.
Your mom said to me yesterday, when I was talking to her, she said, I said, I'm so excited that Julia's coming on and that I'm going to talk to her and that she can meet everybody in the world. And she said, Julia's coming into her voice. And I thought that was a really beautiful thing to say. I thought that was a very supportive and loving thing for a mother to say about her daughter. She's coming into her voice, and I want her to have visibility. Do you feel like your mom has modeled for you what it looks like to use your voice in a
Every day I thank her, like, all the time. Well, not all the time, but I'm like, whenever we are talking about this thing, I was like, thank God I have two educated parents who taught me how to use my voice, and I have a black mother who wrote like a bunch of books about this. Like, I don't have to check out a book from the library. I can go to my parents' library. They have a giant bookshelf. They have so many of them, so I have like all this knowledge surrounding me, and every time we talk about that, I'm just like, thank God I had great parents who know how to. They don't see me as like a kid when we're talking about
yeah.
this. They respect my opinions, and if I'm wrong, they'll correct me, and if they have something else to say, they'll explain it to me. And that's I thank myself. I think about that all the time.
And you know, another thing your mom said is that that conversation of explaining goes in both directions, because she said that you and your sister, who some of my followers have already met because she posted a really cool videoed essay that she had done about her hair, um, that you guys often are correcting them and educating them in a generational standpoint, because there's stuff that, for instance, things around questions of gender and non-binary gender identification or trans kids. Like your mom said, I grew up in Nashville in the 1970s. Nobody was like, this wasn't something that I grew up with, but for you guys, it's very natural to have those conversations. So I was wondering, like, what do you think is the stuff that you feel like your generation understands, and the level of social justice that you have to teach us as an older generation?
Um, well, on the base of gender, I feel like that we acknowledge trans people and and people who identify as like gay, lesbian, or whatever, but no one really talks about, or at least they don't acknowledge when they think about pronouns, they, them,
Right.
and like gender fluid, and what was the word? I forgot. I was gonna say it, but just like um, I try to like I try to include them every time, even when I think about it, and when I'm talking about something like that, because they don't get as much recognition because it's just like they're in the background. And I think if we're gonna acknowledge all the genders, we have to acknowledge all of them, not just the ones that are in the spotlight.
Right. So are
And
you saying, when you say you include them even when you think about it or talk about it, so it's not necessary for you to have somebody who is gender fluid or non-binary in the room for you to, when you discuss, you don't instinctively just say he and she, you just constantly keep that conversation open as an
yeah,
awareness, just as an awareness generally?
I try to because I want to make it a habit. Because I went
Love
to
that.
I I go to I used to go to Camp Hochelaga, and some of our counselors identified as they them.
Yeah.
And since I wasn't surrounded by that when I was younger, it was kind of hard for me, and I always felt really bad when I misgendered them or when I said it wrong. And also, when you see someone on the street, you're probably going to say, "Hey, look at them," and not, "Hey, look at her,"
Right.
unless clearly a girl. And I think it's just if I do that on my own, it's easier to make it a habit and like include more people into
I
that.
love that. Thank you. That's a change. Put my phone on do not disturb. I did this with your mother yesterday too. Um, so your mom said that you're becoming quite a leader that you became quite a leader in your middle school around questions of race and gender. Do you feel like that is something that you wanted to be, or is it something that you felt that you had to be?
It was more something I had to be because I was already like a leader, but it was more like I told people what they should do for the group project about like in social studies, and not I'm telling teachers the same thing over and over again. It was more of either I take up this position and or I just let the school fail a bunch of other kids.
Hmm.
and it was like really tiring. I didn't like that like the position I was in because the teachers
Hmm.
didn't really listen because I gave them they would ask me, what do you think we should do? And I'd give them the same answer, which was just have a staff meeting and talk about these things because I understand it's unfair to talk about this with the kids in your TA, which is the kids you have in the morning, teacher advisory. If it's unfair to talk to them about these subjects if you're not educated yourself, so you should do that as one whole, like how you would do CPR training if you were a lifeguard.
Ah, what a good analogy. That's so good.
But I guess they didn't like the idea of that. And
Mm.
then we had surveys that we had to do every week. And the first time I did it, I was like, well, our school doesn't know how to handle anything involving race, and so I had to talk with a guidance counselor. And he said he wanted to take it slow, and it was the month of February, so it was Black History Month. And one, and I think he did that because he was uncomfortable because he's a
Right.
white male, and he doesn't want the other kids to be uncomfortable. But I've told multiple people this. I don't care about white people's discomfort when it comes to things involving race because it's discomfort I've had to live with every single day.
Right.
And and like 400 years of discrimination and slavery and Jim Crow laws and all of that, it wasn't slow. That all happened. And it just continually happened. Like, okay, well, they're slaves, but now we freed them. Okay, we're just going to be really rude and racist and biased towards them. Okay, that's kind of taboo now. We're just going to segregate them. And they still do that now.
Hmm.
It, there's no reason to take it slow because I know for a fact that seventh and eighth graders are capable of having a conversation because they do every time a teacher is trying to teach. But
Right.
I understand the only exception I would make for that is sixth graders because they're coming in from fifth grade with not, even though the elementary schools did more than that, it
Yeah.
would be like a more, not, it would, I'm saying violent because there would be more in-depth detail about what happened to certain people
Right.
and how it can literally get you, the color of my skin could get me killed.
Yeah.
That was the only exception I would make, but seventh and eighth graders are more than capable of at least saying one word. And so I don't understand and that's why I didn't like the leader position because a leader is supposed to be listened to and I was kind of ignored and whenever they did something involving race, I was at the forefront of it. Even though I didn't need to be, a teacher could have easily done it much better than I could have. I didn't need to miss class for something like this.
It's so interesting. I have a friend named Ebony Janice Moore, and she's an activist and a minister and a writer and an educator, and a very powerful, strong Black female voice. And she told me once, and I don't know whether the study was hers or somebody else did it, but she interviewed or somebody else interviewed a lot of prominent Black activists and said, "Was it always your dream to be an activist? Like, is when you were a child, were you like, I want to grow up and be an activist, or was there something else that you wanted to be, and you felt like you had to be an activist because somebody has to do this work?" And every single one of them said there was something else they would have rather been. And so one question I have for you is, what else do you want to be besides a leader and an activist, which it appears has been thrust upon you, but like, what are the activities and the pursuits that you choose, that, you know, in a perfect world you would be able to devote yourself to?
I'm more than fine with being a leader, just not in like that position where I'm pushed into it.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I wouldn't say I don't want to be an activist. I personally I haven't gone to any protests mostly because I didn't know we were having any and because my mom wants me to be safe and not get sick and stuff like that. And I don't like going to those things because they kind of make me uncomfortable. There's a lot of
Hmm.
people there.
Hmm.
I wanted to I didn't have I don't have a set dream like oh I'm a 6-year-old who wants to be a vet. One thing I did really want to do, and I still do now, is violin. Because I saw one of my dad's friends play like this insane song and it was super loud and it hurt my ears. And from that day on, I was like, I want to play the violin. I have to, or my life is going to end. and, and now I still love the violin, but I kind of don't like practicing.
No,
But
there's
that.
that.
I wanted to go to Juilliard at some point, and I still kind of do, but I think as of right now, I just want to be able to sit in the classroom and not have like all eyes on me for something. And I don't care if I'm known as like the girl who always points out racism, but I don't want to be the girl who always points out racism.
Yeah, it would be nice if you didn't have to be the only one doing that. And speaking of which, your mom wrote an essay recently for The New Yorker, which I have a link to in my bio if anybody wants to look at it. That was about an incident that happened at your school and that involved you. And when she spoke about it yesterday, she actually spoke about it as an essay that the two of you had sort of created together. You know, that she felt like you were an equal part in creating the telling of that story. And I wondered if you were comfortable talking about that story. And if you're not comfortable talking about it, that's also okay because people can just go and read it. But I was wondering if you had anything that you wanted to share or explain about what that incident was.
Well, there were many incidents. The one with my hair. Yeah.
The one where you ended up talking to your math teacher, having a direct conversation where you really sat down a grown white man and educated him to the point where he was actually in tears, not because he was, you know, he was so moved by what you learned that you kind of changed his way of thinking, which I thought was pretty incredible for, you know, the age difference and the power differential as well. So that's the piece that I was wondering if you wanted to talk about.
Well, I think since that call was like me confronting him about everything he not necessarily, well, yes, did wrong in every situation, my mom was there for every single one of them. Not like as a comforter, but like as someone who would call the school board and yell at them for me. Um, so she was a part of this story, and it's my story, and she's just conveniently a writer. So it's just like, it just happened. Um, that call, uh, it was interesting. I was just there to tell him, like, you ruined my, not eighth grade experience, but my every morning, like, I would just have to sit there and watch this happen, or it would just be happening to me. And that kind of ruined my experience in TA. And it was just, I wanted to tell him how it was just hard every single day. I even think about it now. What would happen to me? I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be talking to you if I wasn't in his TA. Every single instance of racism or sexism or anything always took place in his classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And
he kind of, as far as I understood, like you were being bullied and teased for your hair, and he was like, well, you wore your hair that way, so it's provocative. You were wearing a T-shirt that says the future is female, so you're being provocative. He was taking the side of the people who were bullying you.
The first time he said it was, in a way you started this, because I had my hair in a bun, and I said in a way I didn't do anything, and then he kept saying that, and I was like, in a way I'm done with this conversation. That was the first time. And then with the future is female shirt, he tried to educate the boys, but sometimes that doesn't really work. Sometimes you just need to be, it doesn't work, because when someone is wrong, especially when it was like a lot of toxic masculinity, and they aren't even men legally, they get defensive.
That is the best thing I've ever heard. Toxic masculinity. Oh God, they aren't even men. Oh, but they learn so soon. They learn so soon.
They get defensive, and they don't want to listen, so it's not a productive conversation, and it's just like you're talking to a wall. And and they made up their own graphs and everything about how being a feminist is sexist. And I literally said, this stupidity is laughable. I laughed at this. And I told him what I said before, that I don't care about your discomfort. That's the first time I like said it to somebody. And my mom said that I had to forgive him because like that's how Black people have to forgive people for these things, or they can't move on in life. They can't move up and get the job they want, or they can't do this and that. They kind of have to live with it. And after that talk, that really got to me. I was like, I do not forgive this man at all. Because of course there's like this thing of respect, that you're supposed to respect your elders or whatever. But I lost all the respect I had for him because he couldn't keep control of his classroom, and that ended up like I got hurt because of it, and then he contributed to it. So one thing that I don't think is in there, because I think I wrote this after the essay, was I wrote him a letter, and it was basically saying that after this letter, I don't really want to talk to you ever again.
Wow.
I don't want you, and if I find out that you are using like people of color, any kids of color in your class, TA, as like your own personal Google or doing what you did to me, I will talk to you about it, and I will confront you about it, because I don't want any kid to go through this. But then I also stated that this letter is for me and me only, because I get to be selfish with this. I was like, at the same time, I don't want this to happen to anyone else, but also this happened to me, so I'm going to be selfish and just bully you for it and make you feel guilty about this because you deserve that. And the only reason I sent him a letter is because he sent me one. I don't know if he sent everyone in our TA one, but he sent one. It said, thank you for helping me learn and grow. And I was like, I don't care if you grew at all. I don't want to talk to you again. I don't think I physically can, because every time I look at your face, I just see bad memories. And I just wanted to make that so clear. And since I feel like I couldn't tell him that without like crying, and he wouldn't fully understand that, I had to write a letter. Because one thing my mom told me was like, when she's crying, she's not sad. She wants to run you over. She's really, really mad right now. It's just there's no other way to like express that emotion. Right. She was right. I was furious. I was just like, if only I could reach into the screen and scream in your face or something. And it's like the boys didn't even go through any repercussions. Like they just got talked to by their moms. Like, and this, so moving on to something else, but also it connects to everything. Ever since the hair incident, he would do these stupid little circles that I just kind of sat through, but I also talked. I just kind of had to get through it almost, I think, every Tuesday, and it would be about a new topic or something that happened to me. We'd have to talk about it. And one day, no one was talking like usual, and then I changed the subject completely, and I was like, why is it so hard for you guys to talk? You do it all the time. You talk in the hallways, you say hi to me, you talk to everyone, but when it comes to something important, you never talk. Like, you're just hurting others by not talking. Silence is deadly, as people are saying right now. And it's annoying to be the only one having to explain this to you. And that's how it went with every conversation. And we did a conversation about sexism, and they were smiling through the whole thing. Like, it was funny. And then I got really annoyed by that. And so I looked the kid right in the eye who said it. And I said, well, if you were in public, who do you think would defend you? Some old man who has horrible values and no morals and just like is living off the views of his parents who were born like in the 1960s or 50s? Like, no one's gonna help you in that situation. You're gonna look stupid. You're gonna get recorded. You're probably gonna lose your job. Imagine if your future employer was in the street. They saw that. They thought, wow, that's gross. Why would he even say that in public or at all? And then you go to apply to the job and he's there and he rejects you because you said something horrible or something so uneducated. You need to think about the future. Everything I do, everything I post online, if anything, I'm like, okay, well, I know someone could find this, so I'm not gonna hate on anyone online. Why would I hate on anyone for any reason? You need to think about these things. Everything you do will affect you in the future. Even if someone can't find it, it'll be in the back of your mind. And guilt is like the worst thing because it sticks with you and you can't get rid of it. And even saying sorry to the person you hurt or trying to make amends, it won't fix it because you've already done that horrible thing. You need to think about your future and yourself. You're hurting yourself right now. Like, I'll get over this at some point because I know I'm in the right to yell at you right now. But you had no right to say that to me. Also, this was on my birthday. And I had a birthday party after that, and they totally ruined the mood.
Oh.
But I still got cake and presents and everything. But I was just like, you did that on my birthday too, and you knew it was my birthday. You said happy birthday to me. Like,
You know what? I'm just having this wave as I'm listening to you because I'm so deeply involved in your mom's book that it's so fresh in my mind right now. Her book Black is the Body, and her stories about her mother. I'm just hearing the difference in the amount of power that you are able to express over the course of a few generations. You know, she tells a story about her mother and her friends walking and having white boys, and this is in the South, having white boys in pickup trucks drive by, throw rocks at them, and then turn around with the intent to assault. And the girls running and hiding in the cotton fields and the cornfields and being terrified and learning to not, that it's very dangerous to defend yourself, learning to not speak up in defense because at that moment that would have only caused them more harm. And I'm just thinking of your grandmother watching you at the age of 14, taking on rooms full of boys, grown men, the system of your school, and just being like, no, you know, like, no, and no, I'm not going to be quiet about this, and no, this isn't okay, and I don't accept your apology. A total transformation has to happen. You know, it's like, it's astonishing for me. I hate that it took this long in culture for the world to be even remotely safe enough for you to be like that, but I'm dazzled. Your mom said you're coming into your voice. I just have to say, as an outside observer, it certainly looks to me like you already found it. You know, that your voice is secure and certain. I hate that you have to keep using it in this way, but I'm also just looking multi-generationally at how incredible it is to see somebody of your age who already has such a powerful point of view, and is so fearless about using that point of view. And I don't think it comes without a cost to you of like what it, you know, in anxiety and pain. It's not like, yay. It's just, I'm just very glad to know you. And I'm very glad to see what you're up to,
that's really,
including turning that light on for a mysterious reason that, you know, I have to ask you about. What was that about?
yeah, I was trying to see if my lights were working, but then I realized the ones in front of me were unplugged. So,
I was like, is that a signal? Are you sending some sort of a signal?
that's where the difference comes between me and my mom. Like, I think about it in the South, especially when she was there growing up. Racism, you kind of had to deal with it. There wasn't
Right.
anything you could do. And if she grew up in Vermont, it probably would have been a little bit different. But considering the time, it was still like you
Not
kind of
much.
just let it slide
Yeah.
for your own safety and just being able to just go on about your day and stuff. That's where that's where our like opinions kind of differ, or the way we talk about this stuff like is a little different because I was talking about the flag and how I think it's icky, and I kind of assume some things about you if I see a flag on your house because one, it looks tacky, like an American flag on like a blue house, not cute. and how, and I was like, and then for her, she would try to defend them, or like not defend, but try to help me see a different point of view. But since we grew up in two very different Americas, which is
Right.
both very violent, but this one is much more televised and like you can see all of it.
Right.
I'm like, no, I'm gonna stick to me hating the flag because it was like the flag represents injustice, broken treaties, murdering civilians, and racism. So I'm just gonna like we grew up in two different types of America, but I'm gonna say I hate the flag while you can try to open my eyes to a different perspective because that is my New Year's resolution and I've been trying to do that. But it's just like some things that you don't really want to see the other side of or accept the other side of.
That's so interesting. I had a conversation about this the other day with some friends of mine where I said, when you drive by a house that has an American flag hanging from it, do you assume that that person is a Trump supporter or a Republican? And I kind of do out where I live. But my friends who are my age, who are also very much involved in social justice movements, said they don't necessarily make that assumption. And I thought that was interesting because I was like, it's kind of become a dividing symbol. It's been co-opted by a certain percentage of the population, and they said no, but there's people who have family members in the military, and that's how they show. Anyway, it was an interesting conversation. So, but yeah, I do. I think when your mom was growing up and when I was growing up, waving the American flag didn't have the same symbolism that it has now. Now it feels like you're really making a statement about about something, and your point of view makes a little bit of sense to me, I have to say. So yeah, I get that. Can I ask you a question about your friends? And I remember once being told, "Show me your friends, and you will show me yourself." It's an old Russian adage that's how you can learn who somebody is. Who are who are your friends who you love, who you trust, and what is it about them that you love and trust?
My friend Sophia, she came from like the islands, Grand Isle, in seventh grade. Um, I love her. She's awesome, and her parents are really nice. I think she she supports like Black Lives Matter. She's just more quiet about it. She'll talk to me about it, but not in public, which
Hmm.
I think is totally fine. At least she talks to me about it, acknowledges it, and we're totally on the same page. We will both yell at racist people if we have to, and I'm really close with her. And I think she's one of my only like close school friends who I talk to about stuff like that. Besides my neighbor, her name's Katie. She's really nice. She she's always been this way. She's always been like an activist, like since she was born, I guess, because I've known her since like elementary school. She's always been this way. Every time she sees something sexist, she will literally scream about it every single time. And I didn't really realize that until now. And I'm like, wow, she was way ahead of me on this. She was much more observant. And then there's just some friends that I had from school who are just like they'll talk about the topic but they're just uncomfortable about it. And um then there's family friends who I never talk to about that stuff because they're like basically like my cousins or my sisters or my brothers and stuff. And I think my mom says Sophia is like who I really am, like who I would have been just if I didn't have to go through all of this. Because she's like shy and really nice and will take a back seat with most things and just like, except for math, she helps me with math. And I
You
just,
need that. You
I
need that.
because I'm, I'm like I'm sensitive when it comes to certain things. Like, if my mom says something that I don't like, I'm gonna be like, why would you say that to me? What does that even mean? I always look for a deeper meaning, or I always like try to, if someone's hiding something from me, I always try to figure it out. Um, I think my mom was right when she said that, because like if I didn't go through all of this, I probably still would
Right.
have been like a leader, kind of, I guess. Just she likes to call me a quiet leader, a quiet alpha. When I talk, people listen, but I don't need to yell to get their attention, which I really like because it was complimenting me. Um, and that's kind of how Sophia is. And so like she's the version of me if I didn't have to go through all these traumatic experiences.
Got it. That you, yeah, you weren't allowed to stay small and quiet.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I got that. Okay, another question. Who should we be following? So a lot of my followers are very earnest and very committed to being part of the social justice movement that's happening in a bigger way right now in this country than certainly any time I've ever seen in my lifetime. Who are some leaders who you think are really worth listening to, and who should we be paying attention to?
Um, I honestly don't know because I don't use like Instagram that much, except for right now. But I think
Yeah, right now you're doing it.
there's a lot of people that I watch like on YouTube or on TikTok or something. Well,
Mhm.
I think just listen to the kids. Don't disagree with, don't argue with them. Just
Right.
if you're gonna listen to anyone, it's just make sure you're ready to hear something you don't personally like, but don't argue with them at first. You need to get somewhere first. And um, I think probably almost any black artist in the media, unless they're like a colorist or really rude. I can name people you shouldn't listen to, but uh, I think honestly just use Google. Just Google these things. Don't use people of color as like your own Google. It
Right.
just you might just be able to like you're able to use your fingers and type it up because I personally don't know. And as long as you're reading something or acknowledging it and talking about it with your family, even if the discussion doesn't go the
Right.
way you want it, the fact that you're trying to educate or help them is not enough, but it's something and it gets you somewhere, even if you don't think it does. That's one less person who's going to be against this and stand in the way of Black Lives Matter. And just remember that it's not a moment, it's a movement. Like this has been going on. I went to a Black Lives Matter protest for Trayvon Martin when I was like in 2013, I think.
Hmm.
And I didn't even know what that was about. I just went because I knew he got shot. But it's been going on. It's been here. It's just getting more traction. So you just need to remember the fact that it's not like some black square for Instagram to make you look good. And anyone in your comments who's like, "Oh my God, thank you," like don't say you're welcome because you're doing less than the bare minimum. I'm not going to thank anyone for doing that, and I posted about that on my personal stories for my school multiple times. I'm like, if you're posting a black square, don't expect me to praise you. You're acting like a white savior right now, so don't
Mm.
act like that.
Yeah.
So basically, just like don't expect praise for doing the bare minimum.
Well, don't expect praise for doing what's just right.
Right.
Yeah. Um, I have to just say one last thing, and then I'm going to let you go. I really like your generation. I have nieces and nephews and kids. I don't have kids myself, but a lot of my friends have kids your age and around your age. And I just want to say, I've said it for a long time, but this is the greatest generation, the one that's coming, because they, the same sorts of things that they're often criticized for, which is being hypersensitive about language, or about political correctness, or inclusion, or just their feelings mattering. All the stuff that older generations will tease them for or attack them for. What that is that you guys actually really do care about human beings, and not just human beings who look like you. Um, and you've been taught not to bully. Um, you've been taught to be compassionate in a way that is very different from the way that many of us who are older than you were raised. It's very hands-on. I saw a meme, I'm going to get this wrong, but I saw a meme that I really love where somebody said, like, you know, our generation, we're the ones who like won't eat something unless it's organic and the crust is cut off, but we will also stand with our arms linked in front of a wall of police officers in riot gear without even blinking. You know, like we will
I cut
actually.
the crust off my PB and J's.
What's that?
I do cut the crust off my
Exactly, but you also stand up to like adult white men of authority without fear, and that's because it's the right thing to do, and I'm really excited to see what kind of a world you've inherited, a world that's, you know, apologies, we really like trashed it, you know. But if there's any generation who I feel very comfortable turning the world over to see what they're going to do with it, it's yours, and you're very much a part of that. And it was a really like education to sit and talk to you today. I really appreciate it. So I don't need to tell you to keep using your voice. I have a feeling that you're going to always. And thank you so much for being with us. I appreciate it.
Me.
You are very welcome. Take care. Bye, sweetheart.
Bye.